make sure that we have a very friendly and, interesting conversation, because here our panelists, they have, I would say, like, they have seen the world, in the sense that they have gone through a lot of struggle, ups and downs, and also they have made a name for themselves. So they have something very, very interesting and important to share. Recording of this will be available to all of you who registered, and also I think it will be available for a larger public for the purpose of public good. So that's are some basic things to kind of make the discussion smooth. And now let me introduce you to the session. So this panel discussion is basically on experience sharing of the panelists here. So we have three panelists. Vipul. Vipul, can you say hi to the group?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will just say hi,
Anushree
everyone.
Hi, everyone.
and Swarali.
Hello, everyone.
I have the privilege and pleasure of knowing all of them through professionally and also to some extent personally, working with them for some time. So I feel very kind of happy and privileged to kind of be in the position to moderate this discussion. And we'll be basically talking about, the theme is, careers in business psychology. So we'll be talking about that. But as a tradition, what we do is that whenever we talk about some concept or topic or theme, we first clarify what we mean. So first thing I would like to pose to all three of you is, what is business psychology for you? So define the area, define the territory, define the domain of business psychology. When we talk about business psychology, what are we actually talking about?
Yeah. So yes, I think what business psychology to me is just the meaning of the word business and the meaning of the word psychology put together. Okay, this is like the most oversimplified definition that anyone could give. But there are a lot of nuances to it. And if in depth you want to know what business psychology is, it means the study of human behavior and humans basically in context to business, organizations, work, or employment for that matter, and all the aspects related to it. Business psychology is like an umbrella term for me, and it will encompass a lot of different things like psychometric testing, or employee well-being, or just overall how the human computer interface works. That also too, like, it lies on the edge of business psychology as well. So it depends. It is very diverse, it is very nuanced, and I think it's not only wide, it's a lot deep as well. So that was in short what business psychology is for me.
Vipul, would you like to add on what Swarali said?
No, I think she's already given a very broad understanding in terms of what it looks like. I'd just like to, simplify and share my point of view. And I see basically it's just the application of psychology at workplace. Okay. That's how I see business psychology in the simplest way. Now, the applications is something that it's a very diverse area when we say workplace. So, with all the things that Swarali mentioned, those areas, how you explore and how you apply psychology to enhance workplace, people, process, or business in general is fascinating. So for me, I think that's what business psychology means.
I'll take the definition. Business psychology is application of psychology at workplace. Let's go a little deeper into it. Anushree, so for you, like, when we mean by workplace, let's say if I look at workplace, I see some commercial organizations, I see some not-for-profit, I see NGO, and workplace encompasses everything. And psychology concerns with people. So my question to you is that, what are the different areas of, let's say, business or work in which psychology can add value, psychology can play a role?
All right.
And where it is actually playing currently?
So to answer this question, I would first like to say that what I see, business psychology is like industrial and organization, like two parts to that. So
One comes with the molecular being in nature, and the other is molar. So again, if I have to simplify this, so work psychology and industrial are primarily the issues that are more molecular in nature, which means like smaller bits here and there, and focus on the smaller units, industrial, and molecular, as I said, molar is like the bigger picture. So if I have to put all of it together, we can see the application or the presence of business psychologists at a lot of places. It could be the government organizations, INO being there at place. It could be consultancies. It could be academic domain, and it could be like proper organization companies. So I think the presence of IO psychologists at all such places play a huge role.
Interesting. So taking from there, let's say I want you to go down little in the memory, not too far, because you know, uh, uh, when you were, let's say, a graduate student in your graduation, like BA or BSc, what idea you had about psychology in general and business psychology in particular, and how your understanding are shaped in this area, from your experience, and what you see now from here. What are the major paths that you see going into the world of business for a psychology student? Because I think the main audience for this will be basically aspiring people, like who want to laterally shift into business psychology, and also students who want to vertically grow into business psychology. So these are the two primary set of audience for this panel discussion. So it would be interesting to see your personal journey and the lesson that you learned from it, and from where, like, where you are currently, what you see happening in the near future. So start with graduation and walk us through your journey till now. And I would like Vipul to do it first, and then we will go to Swarali, and then we'll come to Anushree.
So I wanted to become a clinical psychologist, and that's why I started. I did my bachelor's in clinical psychology. Okay, and I had to be very honest, no understanding of psychology or business psychology as a topic before my I entered into graduation. So let's say a few people have understanding in their 11th and 12th around the subject matter, they might study few of the options. So I didn't had any of idea around it. It's just when I failed in my medical examination twice, I thought of exploring different options with science and bio as a subject. And when I was in Kota, which is the coaching capital, during that period I realized how insanely students are going towards few directed careers based on the social influence, right? And that's where I realized that a lot of students are actually need help, guidance and support. And that's where first strike to me that when I met a counselor in one of this institute at Ellen in Kota, that's where I first came to know about psychology in general. And then I liked this subject, as well as I had a very parallel journey in terms of one of my teacher, she was a counselor outside her academics, and she was a well-renowned practitioner in the city of Indore. So I think due to initial interactions, I first came to know about psychology. My understanding of business psychology per se was very limited until I was exposed to an elective subject in my second year, and only three people opted for that subject. And since I came from a background of business, right, so my family do business, so I would like to wanted to know how I could apply psychology in business setting. So just because out of that curiosity, I opted for that elective. And since there were only three students, so the discussions was very practical in nature, which is not the case with studying psychology either in bachelor's or in master's, right? So I think the practical part of it is something that excited, as well as we discussed in terms of how psychology in day-to-day life would look like. And after exploring my elective, there were few assignments which I did, which I really enjoyed, and because of which I got a brief understanding in terms of what business psychology looks like. So what I learned during that period is there are few subjects wherein you can apply. For example, uh, there is an organization, you could improve the organization structure, you could improve the organization, you could improve the productivity of the organization, and then at a people level you could help people out in terms of which persons are, sir, better suitable for which job. Okay. Or which individuals are more likely to take a leadership position. So I had a very brief understanding during that period. And and since it was just a one elective, it was something more around understanding the organization structure and organization behavior. Okay. But my curiosity developed over a period of time. And Vijay, so you can stop me if I'm taking more time. Okay. Just let
No
me know.
issues. As long as audience are interested in listening to you.
Yeah.
If someone is not interested, they will come tell me in the chat.
Yeah, please do let me know. I'll cut it short. So,
Sure.
so my curiosity developed over a period of time, and then I decided that business psychology is something that I could explore, because I was not interested in doing one-on-one counseling. That was not exciting to me. For me, what was exciting is that I could create an impact at one to many level, like 1 to 12, 1 to 50, 1 to 100, at a team level, at an organization level, and that is where I was thinking of how that could happen. And I came to know about business and work psychology as a topic, or as a master's degree that one could pursue, and then I decided to do it from UK. uh, from my understanding during my graduate level to right now, what my understanding after experiencing after completing my masters, and now 3 to 4 years in the industry, is broadly have helped me understand that how dynamic this field is. Okay. I was never aware about the fact that stepping into corporates with a background in psychology, what it looks like. But this field provide you the platform for you to to explore in as much ways as you can. So if you are someone who is very curious, who wants to understand how psychology could be applied in diverse setting, then this course gives you that opportunity to to broaden your horizon. Okay. Whether it's be at a people level, whether it's at organization level, whether it's at a research level. So currently, how my understanding has transformed is broadly that I see its application into 6 to 8 areas, and have an understanding of at least 3 areas in how it works. So assessments is one area which is, it's a broad area, and it's my major. It's called assessment selection and development, wherein you see how you can assess an individual in any particular role or a position. You also there are multiple elements to assessments, whether it's the assessment itself. There is another subject called psychometrics, which is very is like a parallel to assessment, I see, but it has its own unique nature, right? So what I learned with my masters and with my now current basic understandings, that it's very dynamic in nature. You could explore various subfields of IO, and over a period of time you could laterally move into various fields and develop a well-rounded understanding of how uh, psychology could be applied in yes, assessment, psychometrics, LNTD, talent development, talent management, and various other subfields, right? So I'll keep it short for now. That's my experience.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. In fact, it's very interesting to know, like, this, the thing that you shared is that when you were, let's say, before graduation, there was very little known about. And I know from my journey into it is that in 2004, when I was getting into the job market, there was not a single opening with the name of psychometrician or psychometric. The word psychometric was not, because that was my specialty area. I had to wait 3 years to get one opening, and I got selected because there were no other candidate. Nobody could wait for 3 years. So, and from there to now, when I'm constantly looking for psychometricians to join my team. So it's like there are at least 20 openings per month posted on LinkedIn, which has the word psychometric in it. So the world has moved a lot, and they are seeing now the value that a person with a background in psychology, or the person with the knowledge of psychology, brings to business, and especially the people side of it. So Swarali, what has been your journey into this field so far, and where you see this field going, and where you see job opportunities coming, where you see what kind of work, what kind of job roles that a business psychologist can take up, or what kind of work they do, what kind of value they contribute is, and what you see happening in future. So start from your graduation and bring us back to future.
Okay. So my story is kind of stark opposite to what Vipul's story is, because he mentioned having a limited understanding of the subject before his graduation, whereas I don't know, it was like an intuition or something. And I knew it after my 10th standard that I wanted to pursue a career in psychology. So it just like it came from like very naturally from inside, and I had a lot more understanding about clinical and counseling psychology during my undergraduation, until in my third year when I was introduced to IO psychology, which was one of the subjects, and that is when I was like, okay, fine, this is something interesting. But initially that subject felt kind of dry to me, because as compared to abnormal psychology, IO psychology was more like hard work for me, understanding the organizations and how different aspects of organization come into picture while understanding the psychology of a person in that context. So it was slightly a struggle initially, but for practical reasons and also a couple of personal reasons, I ended up doing my master's in business psychology. And as Vipul was walking us down his memory lane, I also remembered that one of the subjects which I studied in my master's in business psychology was employee well-being and stress management. And that was so out of all the electives, all the modules which I studied in my master's, that was the one which caught my attention. And I think there's some dots connecting there, because before making a decision that I wanted to study business psychology for my master's, I always wanted to do clinical psychology. So I think that is why that well-being aspect always stuck with me, because wherever you are in a clinical setting or a business setting or counseling setting, I think well-being is something like very close to me. So I think what I did after my graduation was find opportunities which connected me to employee well-being every time I went there. So having said that, I've been counseling and offering therapy to people for last 4 years now, which when people said like they're 3 or 4 years into the industry, it was like a surprise to myself, because like, believe me, like Vijay, I remember talking to you back in pandemic. We've had a couple of calls, we caught up, we tried to know about each other. That was like 3 years ago. So it has been a long journey, and which has taught us a lot. And thanks, Vipul, for mentioning the masters, because that is what made me think of employee well-being. So what I currently do for okay, so right now I'm working in social sector. I am not in corporate sector anymore, like at least for last 1 year. I might go back, not a promise. But right now, how I'm using business psychology in social sector is basically through the word employee well-being. So I am basically an in-house counselor, counseling psychologist, or a psychotherapist, whoever may, in whichever term. So I am basically offering therapy and counseling to the staff and the disability professionals in the social sector. So that is how I am like, I feel that I am somewhere bringing the counseling psychology and the business psychology together in my current job role. And having said that, I think to address the point that where we think business psychology will go, I think it will go as far as social sector also. Like who knew business psychology could be dragged into social sector? Like until people were speaking, we knew that business psychology or psychology for that matter was being used in corporate sector. But this is like an eye opener to me, and that's when I thought that I think business psychology, or I think you get business psychology, the word psychology itself, I think you can pair it up with any possible field, right? There is behavioral economics that includes psychology with economics. There is aviation psychology that studies the behavior or psychology of the aviation crew, right? The pilots, the air hostesses, or the on-ground staff, or absolutely anything and everything. There is sports psychology. There is you name it, and it's there. So I don't think nowadays the word psychology or the word business psychology is being limited to any one realm. I think the boundaries are thinning and there is a lot of scope. There's like with a simple degree of BA psychology, I think you can choose to get into decision sciences or behavioral sciences or behavioral economics or there are so many things like I can't even think of them right now because I've spoken to a lot of people who have been in all these fields and are absolutely thriving. So about where this field will go, I think it will go everywhere. There's sky is the limit. There's absolutely no bounds to it, and it's just one thing that I think we should have ideas as to where to use what we have learned. So as long as we are able to join the dots for ourselves, I think the concept of ikigai comes into picture. What you're good at, what will make you earn, and like what is your passion, and what does the world need. Sorry. Yeah, so those three things. And I think Anushree is already having a smile on her face. Thanks for validating. But yeah, I think there's no limit. There's really no limit to it. We can like having psychology like upcoming times. So many universities and institutions, even in India, are opening up psychology and programs in so many different. I forgot about forensic psychology. I think we already have a couple of universities in India giving master's programs or diploma programs in forensic psychology. So we are like everywhere, which I hope I've covered at least half of the questions that you have asked me.
Thank you. And it's interesting to know that you were the enlightened one. So you knew that you had to do psychology. Not everybody knew that. I can say for sure that I had zero idea that I wanted to do psychology. No interest. I went into psychology because all the beautiful girls of my college were in psychology. So I thought at least I'll get good company. So I had interest in philosophy. So zero interest in psychology. And then someone told me that if you study English literature and if you know how to speak English, you will have better impression. I said, well, that's good. Philosophy plus English, killer combination, and then good company. So what else you want in life? 3 year passed like boom. So
absolutely. One
but
thing
nice
I'd
to know
like
that
to
you were
add
an
here.
enlightened one. You already knew that. Okay.
Thank you.
And this is
so
important
much.
that
I feel honored right now.
people can go from different path. And that's the real meaning of diversity, that you can. And thanks to the new education policy, now it is possible that you can choose your own path, create your own path. When we were student, it was not possible. Now it is possible. Lateral moves, companies have become more, let's say, open to lateral moves. People who are in finance can come into psychology. People who are in psychology do a CFA and go into finance. It is possible. Earlier, it was not even possible. So, yeah. So, Anushree, by the way, one thing I would like to highlight here is that Anushree and Vipul do a very interesting. They run a hashtag on LinkedIn, and all of you should follow that. It's called All Things IO, ALLTHINGS IO. And through that, if you follow that hashtag, you will see a lot of things. And I remember there was one, I think there was one piece of webinar and also article on careers in business psychology. So that's very interesting. I think all of you should follow that and engage into the discussion conversation. The more you talk on social media, especially on professional, more you will kind of, you will connect to. We will talk about it, like how to get jobs into it, what are jobs available and all. We'll discuss it a little more. But let's go to Anushree first to, know about her journey. And we have selected our panelists very carefully. So it's not by accident that, these three people are here. We wanted to represent the diversity in this. Like, not that everybody was knowing what to do. And it is perfectly okay not to know what to do, especially when you are young. But if you are 60 and don't know what to do, you're doomed, you're done. Though, having said that, there are multiple examples in business and in psychology, in literature, where people started their career in 60 or after 60s. George Bernard Shaw wrote his first novel after 60, and he got Nobel Prize. So it was not an ordinary writer. He was like an amazing writer. So, Anushree, to you, the same question. You want me to repeat the question, or you remember?
Yes.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Before that, thank you so much, sir, for highlighting. So now we're more than a hashtag. We've come up with our own page as well. That's more easy to connect and likely a better option. And I was just smiling at what Swarali said because I can clearly see, all of us can see the passion in her. So she knows the counseling side of the business and, the business side of the business again. So she's like everything she said. So I'll talk about my journey. So when I wanted to pick up psychology in 2015, I knew like a subject exists because my mom is a lawyer and she has read criminal psychology books and stuff. But I was very concentrated to clinical psych, like all the students around, because I had zero clue up till 2017. I would say 2018, my bachelor's, mid of my bachelor's, that a subject like business psych exists. So I took up bachelor's in psych. It was a triple majors for me because I wasn't sure like an honors could do wonders and stuff like that then. And then in my final semester, we just had a couple of seniors come to us and talk that, these are the other fields that exist in psych and this is a business bit. And then, people can read and talk and do all of it. I spoke to her. I said that, can you give me books? She said, I just know one book, Robbins, Ruth Hans. I was like, why one? So she's like, I can give you 10 names of clinical psych and counseling, development, Elizabeth Hurlock, and there were many. I told, okay. Then I was very curious, like, why just one? And then I had a professor who was doing psychometrics. He was the only professor into organizational psychology. And I was chatting with him, and he said, this is a field which is upcoming. People do not know about it. If you think you want to make your career, you can. And at that time, I was totally into clinical psych. So pandemic happened. In pandemic, things were so different. Your home was not just home; it was a workplace as well. Then I realized that we spend like in a day almost one third or maybe more than that time at workplace as well. So why not we understand the use of psychology at workplace? And I think I also come from a business family, like Vipul mentioned. So business things that runs in the blood. So I thought, let me pick up a business psych and let's see. By then, I had interacted with many people on LinkedIn, uh, literally close to like 300 people to just know what business psych is. But they would just say it as HR. And I was really stunned that it is not HR now that I know of it. It may be a subfield, but it's not HR. Just because students in India, I say, are not much aware of the subject itself, and there are not much opportunities. So they're compelled to pick HR and not the other sub intersections of biopsychology. So that's how I figured out. I got into Christ, and I had amazing experience at Christ. Professors were just amazing at the subject. There was this one subject which I liked a lot, which is organizational development, kind of related to management consulting, which is what I do. So they spoke a lot about it, and I would just reach out to them and understand. Obviously, talking to people around, because in psychology, I feel you cannot learn everything from books. The practical hands-on experience and stuff, you have to connect with people, you have to network to learn, especially in the niche fields like psycho-oncology, neuropsychology, or business psych for that matter, as we're speaking right now. So I spoke to a lot of people around. Even for my dissertation, which was like a tool construction, I had a really difficult times because obviously pandemic, I was not able to collect data. But then that is how I realized that, we should do something about this field. It's so much great. It's so much booming. And then that's how all things IO came into the picture. However, what I do at my work is not a complete equals to of that an IO psychologist. I am a management consultant by profession. It's a job role which an MBA people usually do. However, in this, I found my calling, which is change management. So change management is a subject in which, for example, so tomorrow your company has been taken over by some other company. So now the same policies, processes, technologies, and everything would be at place. You need to relearn everything. There'll be a lot of resistance, right? So how your brain deals with the resistance for that matter. How do you motivate people, or how do you, influence, bring that perception, the confidence, develop robust communication plans, training, and all those mechanisms that will help mitigate resistance and foster that kind of confidence for the smoother transition. So I am not fully using like IO psychologist, like fully. However, I would say 50-70% I'm using it because I found my calling that ways. And even in management consulting, not everybody gets the same. Some people are doing a financial risk management, being part of consultancy. Somebody is doing, say, just L&D, you never know that ways. So I'm also doing the strategy bit here. So I think I am able to make use of my psychology, business psychology knowledge. And like Swarali mentioned, a lot of subjects. I would say neuropsychology at business. I had a paper in Christ, neuropsychology at workplace, and I would say it's just amazing. So all of us know that Geo, when they introduced this sim, they had literally brought a behavioral change. Everybody was so used to having a Geo sim, and that created wonders. So similarly, I think IO psychologists have that kind of power. We can drive behavioral change in and out. So that's about my journey.
Thank you, Anushree. So what I'm getting from your sharing is that majority of people who are into psychology and into organizational side of the psychology, when they think of job, they think of HR, but HR is not the only field. You can go into a lot of fields like learning, like change management, like there is whole field of OD, organizational development. You can go also into the cross-sectionality, like applying neuropsychology to larger organizational purposes. In fact, psychology as such is used a lot in advertising, in marketing, in choices, and nowadays even in instructional design, in design thinking, in design itself, like user interface design, experience design, and things like that.
So
product design, yes, Gayatri. In product design, it is used a lot. So from here, I would like to invite the audience to also like contribute and brainstorm. In the chat box, please type all the job titles that where a person with, let's say, psychology background in IO psychology, background in industrial organizational psychology, or background in any kind of psychology field can go and contribute, where the person would be. And then let's look at that list together. Now, in HR, because I worked very, very closely with HR. So what I have seen is that when, like, let's say HR started somewhere around 65, 70. L&T was the first company in India to have a proper HR department. At that time, it was called personnel. And then they added a word called personnel and training after like a decade. And then there were some, amazing people like in behavioral sciences in India called like Somnath Chattopadhyay, TV Rao, Uday Parikh. These people basically in L&T, and L&T gave a lot of space to them. In L&T, they started experimenting and doing things. And from there, in India, the practice kind of emerged, and now it is like almost everywhere. Even a lot of startups now are hiring people with psychology background right from the very beginning to get the right kind of people in, train them adequately, and have proper culture in the organization. In fact, I'm approached by, let's say, mid-sized startups, almost like 2 to 3 requests I receive a week, that, hey, we are starting this thing, and now we are getting bigger. We are concerned about the kind of culture that we will create in the organization. We don't want to be another Baiju. Can you please help us? That kind of request. So there is, and there was a question like when you were talking, Swarali, someone asked like, are you working for a company? Are you working for, as an independent? So I would like you to comment on that, and then we will move to, I want to listen to the audience and see like what list they come up with. And also I want you to contribute, all three of you to contribute to the list. In addition to that, I want Ujjwal to share one field in which I think we have not touched yet, which is basically computational psychometrics, which is the, let's say, intersection of mathematics and psychology, which happens very rarely, because most times what happens is that people who go into psychology because they hate math. So it's more of the push factor than the pull factor. Then some people go into psychology because they love people a lot. They like to kind of do something with people, so they have strong social interest. But it happens very rarely that a person who loves math and goes into psychology. And that intersectionality of psychology and mathematics, which turns into the applied psychometrics, computational psychometrics, theoretical psychometrics, that's very interesting field. So I would like Ujjwal to kind of talk a little about it. But before that, Swarali, what do you think about independent or working with people? And what is currently like? Are you working as independent or are you working with some company?
Called Enable India, which works for the persons with disabilities. And Saturday, Sunday, I have my private practice, so I work independently as well. So the part of business psychology which comes more into the picture with employee well-being is my Monday to Friday full-time job. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you. We did not hear the first statement because I think the signal was not that strong. So can you repeat it? Something like you said, Enabled India.
Yes. So what I was saying was that I work both with an organization and privately as well. I work in an NGO called Enable India, which works for the persons with disabilities in the social sector.
Yeah. And I think that's very important point. If you are getting into this kind of field, you don't have to make an either or choice. You can be both. Because a beauty about the field of psychology in general is that in order to do your experiment, you do not need to enter into a lab. You don't need any equipment. The only tools that you need to do your experiment is observation and your brain. So you need to be observant and you need to use your brain to do the critical analysis and thinking to kind of put your observation systematically, read, study. So for this field specifically, you're not dependent on any kind of specialized equipment, any kind of specialized place. Like think about an astrologist, sorry, not astrologist, but astronomer. The person cannot work, independent. The person needs instrument which are worth like, several $100,000. You need to buy them, and you will not buy them just for, one person. So basically institutions buy them and then different people use them. A physicist cannot work on its own. They need a lab. Chemist needs a lab. They need a lot of license, this and that. You don't need anything, just yourself. And there is a very interesting idea in psychology is like bringing self as an instrument for organizational change, for development, for counseling, for coaching, all those practices. So we will go into that in that line as well. But before, I want to go to Ujjwal. Ujjwal, would you like to share your experience with, your tryst with the computational part, or, I know we did some programming together in R. So would you like to share about it, what you are doing currently and how you see the knowledge being applied, and what fields do you see that people from psychology background can contribute into business?
Okay, first I want to confirm, am I audible? Is my mic working? Okay. So about the math part, which Vijai Pandey sir mentioned, I don't think I also like maths. I think I hate mathematics. Or at least for the first 2 years, I truly hated mathematics when I started doing it. When I was doing psychology, so psychology is essentially two parts, arts and the science. So the arts part is essentially a lot of subjectivity. You have opinions, you have things, and the science part is a little objective. So when I was doing psychology, what I noticed was that people were not following a lot of research-based things. People were mostly doing what they feel is their opinion. A lot of applied practices, even in clinics and stuff, they're mostly opinion-based. People were doing whatever they want. Nobody was like, even people who had done their MPhil had 10 years of experience. Nobody was doing something that is actually from research based. And even in my bachelor's and master's, a lot of the discussions, they were more of political rather than something scientific or something concrete, and I did not like that. uh,
Mm.
and what I was also studying was, I was also very much interested in philosophy. And when I was studying philosophy, I got into objective philosophy. So objective philosophy is about more about how do you find the truth, what is truth. Like when people, they think about science, uh, there's no one school of science. There used to be a lot of schools of science, and if someone wants to Google them, you can Google them up. It's something called positivism, post-positivism, constructionism, and all of these. And I was reading about these things, and then I thought, okay, this sounds cool. So I started reading about research, and then I started reading about research, and I picked up this book. I don't remember its name, but it talked about how do you find the truth. So it talked about all these things, t-test, ANOVA, the basic statistics, but it was talking about how you use these tools to find the truth. How do you know what is true and how do you know what is not true? And that was something I really liked. I thought, okay, whatever is happening in my college, whatever these guys are teaching, this is more interesting, and this is something I want to do because this is something more closer towards the truth. So obviously, so that's how I actually got into mathematics, because then I realized if I want to get more advanced into these things, if I want to actually learn this stuff, I have to learn the mathematics. And I started out very slowly, like it was pure maths. So like right now I have these juniors, 5 juniors, and all of them are statisticians, masters in statisticians, and I have to somehow teach them. So I had to teach myself a lot of mathematics, a lot of statistics. And the field I work in is called computational psychometrics, as Vijay sir mentioned. And what this field is, if I have to explain it in simple words, think of it as, so a lot of people who do data analysis and a lot of people who do research, they use some tools. One of the basic tools you guys might have heard of is something like SPSS. Okay, so think of the people who do computational psychometrics. They make these tools, they make these softwares. So my work is to learn from people and learn the mathematics behind these things, and then to make these softwares which can do these things. And my field is specializes in psychometrics. So psychometrics such as how do you measure people, how do you diagnose people, how do you and a little bit of even in learning right now, how do you improve people when they're learning things. So my field is specific to education, psychometrics applied in education. How do you improve people's learning using these softwares, and how do you make these softwares? And also, as Vijay sir mentioned, that this is a very niche field, and to really get into this field, you have to learn about a lot, some coding, and a lot of mathematics, because it's mostly mathematics, maybe a little bit of psychology, because you need to logically understand these things, what is good, what is not good. And yeah, that's it, I think.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Ujjwal. Yeah. So till now we have covered basically the broader area that it is, some jobs that are in this area. Now let's talk about, I would like to kind of add to this job thingy, because I think it is important for the purpose of the discussion, because we are talking about careers in occupational psychology or business psychology. So I was telling about this HR business, when HR as a department that started. Now what is happening recently, especially the from 2010 onwards, that anything which is specialized being taken away from HR. The first thing that got out of HR was recruitment. In many companies now, talent acquisition is a separate department with the talent acquisition head reporting to CEO and not to HR head. In some organizations, it is still reporting to the CHRO. But then from the CHRO, talent acquisition becomes totally separate. So an HR person is not involved in talent acquisition. And in many companies, they say, okay, you are a TA guy or an HR guy, or you're TA girl or HR guy.
I
So
want to talk here.
yeah.
So
Yes.
even I'll just give an example. So even the students that come to us and you say, I want to do an HR internship. So I just always have to make them clear, HR is a very big umbrella term. in
Yeah.
there, what do you want to do? Is it talent
Yeah,
acquisition,
exactly.
relations, PP? And
Exactly.
then they're like, no, it's HR. I'm like, please get things clear. It's very tough
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
these
So,
things
so,
clear.
so I think people watching this and people are here who are in this, I think they will get some clarity on this. The second thing which we're taken away from HR people is learning and development. So now in many companies, learning and development is a separate department. It is not part of HR department. It is separate department. Sometimes it reports to CHRO, sometimes it reports directly to CEO. Then what was left? Performance appraisal. This part is still in HR. What is left? Leaves, operational HR that we call. The timesheet, leaves, promotions. So those kind of things, which is more operational in nature, they are still in HR. But learning is taken out, OD is taken out. Even assessments are being taken out from HR. We talk to business about their assessment, their need for people, and we tell them what kind of assessment to use. Then we say, okay, get this recruiter, get this HR guy to do the paperwork or do your official. So what is happening is that the HR itself, the scope of an HR person or HR field is being reduced to more operational work, and any work that requires some kind of specialized knowledge is being taken away and made as a separate, either separate department or a center of excellence. Now, this restructuring has opened up a lot of opportunity for people with the background in psychology to venture into. Because now you don't need to kind of, after your master's, you don't need to go and do an MBA HR. If you do MBA HR, you will be just, doing what they call as, this is funny subject. They call it HR advisory. And what they do is that approve your reimbursements. So, and these are, aligned to HR. Then people from business psychology background, they also go into, I'm getting interesting input from the audience in this group. Amazing. They also go into design. They also go into marketing. They also go into sales. They also go into advertising. Virtually everything except finance. I have not seen much people kind of with psychology getting into finance. I have seen many finance people getting into psychology, but I have not seen psychology people getting into finance. Yeah. So now from here, let's talk about some tips that, because all of you have kind of, let's say, faced the struggle, faced the challenge, and then you have overcome. So let's say, in order to make life little easier by sharing your experience and challenge in that, what advice you will give to first, there are two kind of people who want to get into job. One is student, another people who are working already in some field. They have worked for 5, 7, 10 years and they want to change the field and come into business psychology. So keep these two audience in mind. What piece of advice you will give to these people, like what to do, what to take care of, what not to do, based on your experience, based on your journey. Yeah, Anushree, you go first.
Sure. So whenever I get this question, I just say one thing: networking. Now, why, I'll explain. So I've worked with 4 companies, 5 now, internships and jobs, but I've never ever visited any company's career portal because that networking helped me to get a job. So especially in the field of IO psychology, I mean, it goes for other fields, but since IO psych we're talking, right, it's very important that you network with people around. But how would you network? You should know what you want to talk about. That's more important. So the first thing that I tell everybody, please be clear on the questions that you really want to, talk to people or reach out, because they're giving their precious time. You have to make 100% use of it. I mean, I would say 1000% use of it. They're very highly tied, their work schedule. So what I do is, till today, when I connect with, say, any people, partners of the company, or even CEO, MDs for that matter, I have 20 questions prepared for myself. I try to answer to my own self. And then I'm like, okay, I am stuck here. I'm sure he's going to say this or she's going to say this. What will I speak to him next? So do that kind of homework. So when I wanted to get into management consulting, I knew what I did not want to do because I've spoken to people around. And then they said, management consulting also, there's a change management thing, there's psychology into it. I spoke to literally many people that, this is my understanding. What should I do? Then they would speak to, do this course, do that, here to that podcast, this, that, and lot many things, which, they have experience of. They've been hiring students, I mean, the first timers, the laterals as well. They know what they expect of our age group. So that's the only thing I speak to everybody, and that's how I prepare even today. And I think that's going to be my only input for my own self as well.
Yeah, like build the network, connect with the right people, and be serious, sincere about it.
Yeah.
Spend time, not connection for connection's sake.
Yeah, but also it's not like today I connected and tomorrow I forget. I make sure that if they have birthdays, I speak to them. I speak to them between as well. I speak Happy New Year. These are very little small, but it plays a huge role. So
Exactly. Staying in touch. Yeah.
Yes. So that's how I do it. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Vipul.
For me, I don't have a piece of advice I would just like to share in terms of what I've learned from my failures. Okay. Uh, so one thing is that IO psychology jobs don't come with the title of IO psychology. So this is a harsh truth that everyone needs to accept. And what we have discussed today, which is the broad range of opportunities. Okay. So you need to understand in terms of how your strategy towards which of the field, okay, that you're searching for job, okay, should look like. So you need to tailor your approach. That's basically what I want to say. As well as, since it's very limited in nature, the range of opportunities are very limited in nature, that's what people say. But I absolutely disagree with it. Every company in today's world have lots of opportunities. So it's just that what you are looking for, you need to be really clear about. Okay, so if I'm looking forward to I liked while doing my masters or my education, I liked assessments, then I try and explore how I could be working as an assessment coordinator, assessment consultant, or in general how to build assessments, right? So I build my portfolios tailored around it, and I search my job around it. And once you have this tailored strategy over a period of time, you'll find you'll find right opportunities for you. And another important thing is, I think Vijay sir, you only mentioned to me when I was working under you, was that in this field, in the field of psychology or in the field of social sciences, it generally takes 5 years for you to develop yourself or to build a base. And I still remember this line because it is true, very true in nature. Because after the once you dive into any of the areas, you start understanding of what is how big uh, that subfield is and what its implication, right? So once you start entering, you see the immense possibilities, like how Ujjwal was mentioning about computational psychometrics in general. So try and develop your interest, explore various fields, but try and narrow down and develop your interest to specific fields that attracts you, and then have a tailored approach towards your job search or internship search in that matter. And I think that would really work out. And plus the competition in India is very high, so I think acceptance of failure must be there. So I have learned from it. I have like got rejected for a period of 1.5 year for all the jobs. So I think that needs to be there in terms of while you're navigating job search with psychology as your batch, as your background, because you don't have that technical skill sets जिससे आपको easily job मिल जाएगा, right? आप computer science से नहीं आ रहे हो that you have great coding experience and you directly get placements. So इस field में वो वैसे work नहीं करता. इस field में it's more about, as Anushree mentioned, it's a combination of various things, and patience I think is the key, because you develop your knowledge over a period of time, right? So yeah.
I was just
Thank you.
mentioning the
Thank you,
patience
Vipul.
which you said. It's like literally the key of success in psychology, I would say, because it's such booming field.
Yeah. Patience, I would also thumbs up for that. It's I remember 3 years I waited for one opportunity. I was reading newspaper every day, 3 years. So yeah. And nowadays, like now what is happening that in a year I get like 10 to 12 people seriously asking, hey, are you looking for a change? I have this thing. It is not advertised anywhere, but if you're interested, I can start discussion. I said, no, I'm interested in being a stay-at-home dad. I don't want to. In fact, I hid for almost 2 years from my LinkedIn that I'm working in a company, because I didn't want to receive a lot of things saying that, hey, we have a job for you. So I said, okay, just go and change. Tell them that you're unemployed, or something weird. People will not bug you and bother you and let you be in peace. I have to edit this, but anyway, I'll take it out. But this because if my company find out, they will say, oh, you're looking for a job.
No, but
They will not think that I'm actually avoiding looking for a job. Yeah. So yeah, it's this is actually very interesting. But before putting my thought, I would like to go to Swarali. And yeah, Swarali, the same question
Yes.
to you. What
So I
advice you will
think-
give to students and to working professionals who want to get into this field? Yeah.
Yes. Am I audible? Am I properly audible? So I think what Anushree mentioned, amazing, bang on, spot on. Networking is the key, and I think Vipul, I and Anushree have been in the same mood in pandemic where we realized the importance of networking. Yes, and I think I've met both of them through LinkedIn. So I think, guys, LinkedIn is 100% a go-to source when it comes to networking. I think I've met Vijay and Ujjwal also on LinkedIn.
all of us.
So all of us. So yes, definitely go for LinkedIn. Second thing, I'll reiterate what Vipul said, and which is again so spot on, that there is no job after doing business psychology with the title of a business psychologist, unless you are practicing independently. Then you can call whatever you want to call yourself. Okay, so that's another thing. Second thing which Vipul said, again, like I'm just feeling that everything is all said. I just want to add one point to it. Vipul, you mentioned about knowledge, right? That knowledge builds over a period of time. But I think when I was looking for a job, and believe me, when I got rejected for a year and a half, like I think the entire 2020 and the first half of 2021. So that's when a lot of collaboration between the three, like me and Vipul, also happened. So, like I met this one person in whose company I had gone for a job interview. I told him that I've studied this, I've done this, that. I gave my whole CV, and he just told me one thing which I think it has stuck with me for so long. He said that studying will give you knowledge, but only working will build your skills. So I want to, I think, pass that word here, that just because you know something does not mean have mastered the skill of it. So whenever, like if you are someone who is new to the field, either a graduate or someone who is a lateral person who is changing fields, right? I would recommend, or I would suggest, or maybe advice, I don't know what the best word is, which you can take out the words which don't fit. but but I think the best thing you can do is start working on tiny projects, voluntarily, pro bono, on internship basis, whatever it is, whatever. Just start working small, take baby steps, and one day when you reflect after 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, you'll realize that now you don't only have knowledge, but you have hands-on experience which might have developed certain skills, I think. So whatever it is, patience, I guess, coming back to Anushree, and acceptance for rejection. Quite ironical, but yes. And one last thing I would like to add is know yourself. Just know who you are as a person, know what you like to do, know what you want to do in your life, and just be true to yourself. So knowing yourself, I think, was the key for myself, at least, because going back to mentioning the part where I knew after my 10th boards that I wanted to do psychology is basically what got me here. So I know myself inside out, and believe me, you're the best judge of yourself. Don't listen to parents, don't listen to relatives, don't listen to your professors. Believe me, no one is, they can guide you, but they cannot make decisions for you.
actually, and I would also like to emphasize that you really need to be passionate. So in psychology, we all have read, just all principle. It's the sum of all. So all the experience that you gather in psych, and I was like, it's like that makes you will not realize it now. But if you reflect back 2 years and you'll be like, oh, I learned this, I know that, I know this. So that, all the things that you learned in books, why not we make use of into the practical life as well? So I think that ways you really have to be passionate about learning, and it's just learning every day. Doctors learn things every day. New medicines come up. Why not you? You have different behaviors. They're not just like six emotions. There are over, I think, 64 emotions. There are a wheel of emotions.
100, it's 100. There are around 100 emotions. I use it every day.
That got changed as well. I think updated. I'm talking about
Exactly. Yeah. Some interesting work is going on in the field of emotion, and there is a lady called Lisa Feldman Barrett. Lisa Feldman has done. She comes from neuroscience background, and she has got training before in biology. So she looks at, basically she comes from that background, and she looks at emotions, how they are expressed and how they can be leveraged. Amazing. And see, there are two big podcasts available on that, one with Lex Friedman and another with this guy who was in Stanford neuroscience, that big American guy, I forgot his name. Huberman. Yeah, Huberman. Andrew Huberman. Yes.
Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah. Amazing. And another very interesting book that I would never forget, that book kind of struck me hard, was there was a book called Molecules of Emotions. It's an amazing book about the let's say the chemistry of emotions. Amazing. And both work of Lisa Feldman Barrett and work on this book, both they basically bring home one very important point, is that emotions are a real thing. They are not just kind of fluffy, fleety, flirty thing. They are a real thing, and you can leverage them to whatever you want. So when you write an email, you can think at your email, look at your email from the angle that, okay, what emotions it will cause in the reader, and what emotions I want to convey through this email. So each and every message is actually a cognitive part and then an emotive part attached to it. And once you start paying attention to it as an individual, as an organization, as a team, it helps a lot to kind of achieve your desired objective. And you start seeing like the finer nuances of communication, finer nuances of relationships, team building, everything. Okay, so we have almost run out of time as always. So to close this, I will ask the last question. Someone commented in the chat box that we should talk about salary. So let's say as a entry level, mid level, what salary people can expect. And I would like to put a rider question on this, is that how important is the internship to kind of make a career in this field? So talk about both the salary expected, what people should expect as salary, what have you seen around, and how important is internship in kind of making a career in this field?
Like Anushree mentioned, that passion is really important. I think that speaks volumes. And if you are like core into only psychology and not the peripheral fields, I think honestly lower your expectations, because a lot of startups or the organizations which are now taking up psychologists as in-house don't have amazing business models. And that is my observation, and I hope I'm wrong here, but that is a realistic view. So I think in independent practice, as opposed to that, if you know that you have all the knowledge and all the skills to be able to help the person in front of you, I think you can demand whatever you think your value is. So don't shy away from that, for sure. Another thing I would like to mention is whenever you're applying for a job, make sure that you give a background research, that how much is the salary or a market salary of someone who is in your position with the number of years of experience that you have, like how much do you actually would get objectively wherever you apply, and then you can decide your then you can decide that what is your salary expectation, because obviously like everyone would expect like at least a respectable decent around 10 LPA would be great for a fresher, but it is not always the case unless you're really working for Google or Microsoft. So make sure that you do your research, and wherever you go, you should. I think I have learned this the hard way, that asking for what you deserve takes guts, and learn to do that. Learn to ask for more value in exchange of your resources that you provide to your organization. So having said that, coming to internships, I think as long as you, okay, this is my personal view, but it can be different for everyone. I think just if you are keen on stepping into a field, don't think less of internships. Internships can be used as stepping stones to whatever you want to achieve ahead. So yeah, those were my few cents.
Thank you, Swarali. Vipul?
Yeah, I'll go with the internship aspect. I've done internship with the Indian Institute of Business Psychology for a period of 6 to 8 months, and I want to say that internship is your doorway to gain practical experience, irrespective of what degree, what title, which university you come from. I think at the end of the day, is what you do or what you brings to the table is important. So that's why the emphasis on internship is something that you gain practical experience, but you also understand in terms of how to position yourself in terms of what value you bring to the table. I think universities don't teach you in that way. Universities teach you to complete your degree and get placed and things like that, but that doesn't happen, right? In this area or with psychology in general, it's very important that you find niche internships if possible. If not, then relevant. Okay, relevant internships that could work out for you. Then when it comes to salary, I would say there is this line that everyone says that IO psychology is the most lucrative field. जो USA का एक research है उसको सब चिपकाते हैं, everyone use that. Okay, and it sounds fancy, and then the field term also sounds fancy, but there are few highlights to it, जैसे स्वराली ने बताया अभी, that it's not always that great. But I would say that it is one of the lucrative fields. I am currently working in executive search and consulting industry, which are Shrek firms. They pay you a lot. Okay, so it all depends upon what value you bring to the table. And when it comes to salary range, this is my understanding. I could be wrong, but for anyone with a beginner with 1 to 3 years experience could gain anywhere between 7 LPA to 15 LPA. Individuals of about with having 5+ years of experience and have a good understanding of their subject matter expertise, then could earn in India anywhere between 16 to 42 LPA. And then people who have broader understanding of our various verticals, right, they could then go from there onwards to sky's the limit. So that's what my understanding of the salary wise. If you want the numbers, then this is what I feel are the numbers.
Sure. Thank you, Vipul. Anushree, what has been your experience?
I would like to talk about the internship aspect before. So I think internships are really important, like Swarali and Vipul mentioned baby steps to what you would like to venture out into. I did a lot of internships given I was the pandemic batch student, I have ample time as well. I don't know how it is right now with you all. So that will actually help you know, like at least at a lighter level, what it is to be there in the field. Then, obviously talk to people in the company and around, and you see that when they step up in the ladder, say 10 years, what does it look like? So I think internships very important. Reach out to people, reach out to, the students doing it with the title, and, the seniors who are doing it at a professional level, say 2 years, 7 years, and then 15 years of work accordingly at your ease to understand how the cycle looks like. I'm talking about the salary aspect. I would say it's very subjective. I do not have any number. When I was doing my master's, I was approached by a recruiter, and I told him like I'm a master's in psych and obviously HR. I know things. He was like, "You're not an MBA. Why would we pay you so much? If we were to hire you, we would pay you the salary of a BBA grad." I was taken aback. I was like, "Why?" Thank you so much. I would not want to speak to you again. And that just stuck me, and I wanted to just be, somebody who I'm able to negotiate, would come to that part. So I skilled myself. I did a lot of courses, not a lot, 2 3, but couple of them, to just upskill myself to be in the field of management consulting. So I think here on, if I say, it depends upon you what you bring to the table. As a management consultant, you can even get 4 LPA, and at the start you can even get 25 LPA. It's up to you. I mean, I'm just talking about this field because now that I'm into here. However, talking about all other fields, I think IO psychology graduates get paid less because they accept it. Let's be very honest. They think it's the field, like the norm, maybe, or I don't know. It's a very brutal truth, I feel. They just do not negotiate, or maybe they do not know how to do it. That's how I have realized it. So I think you really need to know your worth, what you bring to the table, and you have to be really clear in your head. So if I have to again give you a number, first of all, please do not accept a job which is really paid less, like a 3 4 LP, and you think that's okay to just do that. Please do not. But if you have to say, then for management consulting, I would say like it could start anywhere from 7 8 LPA to like 25 20 to 25 LPA at the start. And when you go on in the field, it's crazy. There's this 1 CR away. You're just 1 CR away in next 7 8 years if you do good. It's that.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to add here one thing interesting. Like when I was in 2004, I was looking for a job. At that time, Infosys was offering 25,000 a month to their software engineers, entry-level salary. Now, forward in 20 years, Infosys is now offering 35,000 a month to entry-level salary. At that time, for psychologists, there was very less job. And if there was any job available, the entry-level salary was roughly around 10,000. Now, it is anything closer to 50. So it will be, let's say, between 30 to 50 for entry level with no experience. This is what I have seen. So one thing that I have seen is that in the field related to psychology, the offer from the companies have increased dramatically. It's at least 2 to 3 times in the last 20 years in comparison to software engineering. Second thing, we have to understand that there are 2 kinds of jobs. One is more artistic job. So for example, if you're an artist like Shah Rukh Khan, 1,000 people go to Bollywood every year, and 1 or 2 kind of get the name for themselves. So remaining basically have a very, very low income, and some have very high income. So this is an artistic kind of role. Then there is pure scientific roles like accountant. An accountant starts with something like 6,000, 8,000, ends with like 50,000. There is a gradual, slow increase overall, but it never goes exponential. I think the field of psychology is something which sits between the artistic and scientific. So in the beginning, it is slow. So for the first 5 years, basically you learn and you develop your skill set, you develop your profile, and you are behind the companies to get the job. After 5 years, you start negotiating with the companies. They give you, you can ask for price. And after 10 years, companies are there with job offer, and they want you. So they will make plan that, okay, I want this guy. This guy is working here currently. Let's follow that person on LinkedIn. Let's engage with the person, get that person attracted to our company, and then hire the person. So they make a targeted plan to target you to kind of get into their company. This is what I have seen happening in this field.
I have an example actually. So I was just talking to these 2 senior managers at my company, and he said that there was this somebody from psychology background who was working as a consultant, and he got hired by Geo industry just to make a beautiful PowerPoint presentation, and he's getting paid like a 5 CR per year, so that he makes use of his knowledge of psychology and do that. This is so crazy. You have to have that mix, I think. Yeah.
And I remember I started my first job 4,000 rupees a month, and my colleagues were like somewhere around 10,000 rupees a month. And it was very frustrating because I had all the skills I needed. I had the knowledge. I was good at understanding, speaking, everything. But only thing which was very bad, which is still bad, is that my English was more like UP, Bihar, that Banaras kind of accent. And I was feeling like, well, with this accent, I'm not going to get. But then at the same time, there was a kind of adamant person in me saying that, okay, I'm not going to change. I'll speak like that only. In 6-7 years, when you are at the right place, your growth is always fast. You learn a lot, you get the right kind of exposure, and also because you are contributing to the company pays you. In my career, I never even, not a single time, negotiated with any employer for salary. I used to say only one statement in my appraisal meeting: if you don't pay me enough, there is someone out there to pay me. That's all. If you don't pay, someone else will pay. So you decide whether you want to pay or you want someone else to pay. And that has always worked. People have given without asking, and given more than I was expecting without asking. So sometimes it happens that way as well. So the crucial point, I think, is that to understand like what you offer. That's what Anushree said, that you need to know what you are bringing to the table, and then negotiate on that. Don't compromise. So yeah. Swarali, you raised your hand.
Yes, I think we left out a big part and we don't have time, but I'd like to quickly mention it so that people can know about it later on. After doing a business psychology master's, you can also get into research. So academia is whole another field which is opened after your master's, be it clinical, business, aviation, forensic, whatever you name it. So I think academia also has a lot of scope and definitely a lot of demand. So that is something that could also be looked at. And if anyone wants to discuss about this, please feel free to drop me an email or a message. I'll be more than happy to give more information. And I'm saying this in the interest of time right now.
Thank you. I think that's a very good idea. We did not talk about the academic opportunities in business psychology, and there is a good news that UGC has formally accepted positions like professor of practice. So now you don't need to have a PhD or go through the academic way. You go from experience to teaching, which I think works very well for fields like psychology, for fields like art. Only field where practice to teaching does not work very well if it is related to core science fields, because their knowledge is more important than the practice. Nobody looks at practitioners with pride. So for example, scientist is valued a lot, but engineer who practices, implements that scientist is valued less in academic domain, in the domain of knowledge creation and all that, because the more abstract you think, the higher value you have. But then in psychology, the field is that the more you can connect theory with practice, the more value you will have. So I would like to kind of close it now. Just last thing is that please, I think you've got the kind of quite good awareness of what it is, how it is, and what to navigate. Last thing, I would like to urge you to kind of connect with each other, learn from each other, and be more active, be more visible, be more present. I was very happy to see that people are starting talking about, getting about. The more you are in the field, the more you will kind of be aware of it, the more you will increase your chance of getting into. And just to let you know that currently I just hired one person in my team, but in the next 6 months I will have a requirement in my team, and we offer quite well salary. It will be something around the range of 40 to 50 lakh a year. So in 6 months approximately, the position will open. So yeah, with that, I would like to say a big thanks to all the panelists, Swarali, Anushree, Vipul, and also special thanks to Ujjwal Ujjwal, I give your example to, many times, is that, okay, if you want to, be nerdy in psychology, it is possible. You can be. And you can contribute, you can actually make fundamental, you can contribute with a high value. It's not like, just being nerdy for nerdy's sake. You are actually doing something great.
Yeah,
So thank you all. Thank you very much.
I would just like to add something. So even
Yes.
met Vipul and I met Ujjwal some months back, and even I don't like maths. So the way he explained it, I was like, I could have read maths if he were back with me then. So I really like the way he explains things. And 2 + 2 is 4, obviously, but he'll make it in a way which you really understand. It's that easy. Thanks.
Yeah. So thank you all. Thanks for attending this. Thanks for being here, and thanks for sharing your knowledge and experience. And we will see you sometime in the future. And if you have not been formally attached to IIBP, please do so. There is different level of membership, like you can be a IIBP well-wisher, you can receive newsletter, everything, all for free. If you have the required qualification, you can be a professional member, you can be a institutional member, all the possibilities are there. Let's stay connected and help each other. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Vijay. Thanks, everyone.